Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. Once again, two fine ladies on the show. I'm so proud of this, having a young lady, and one of them is a evolutionary elder too. So, hey, welcome Dr. Mary Johnson, professor of mathematics. And you've seen her before because she is a wonder. And then we have another young lady here is going to talk about books. What about books? This is going to be attorney Karen Gooden. And what we're going to do, Ms. Gooden going to tell us about some of the books. She got one called Spanky. I'm ready to get into that. And another one concerning Prince George's County history. In fact, one of them was one of our prominent judges in the early part of development of Prince George's County. So once again, hey, don't go anywhere. Put that coffee cup down or go get whatever you're doing because you don't want to miss nothing. These are two fine ladies here. Hey, Mary, welcome to the Ed Brown Show. This is the mathematics professor. She took me back about 30 years, you know. I hated math, but I had her on the show and I wanted to go back to school, so it must be pretty good. Mary, tell us, with the evolutionary elders, see, they think that when they say evolutionary, they always think of men. You know what I mean? But hey, lady here, tell us about what's going on with you now.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm very pleased to be here, Mr. Brown. I always enjoy coming on your show. Well, right now, evolutionary elders are working very hard across the country. We have Dr. Williams and Mr. Whitten. I almost call him Dr. Whitten because he really is at doctoral level. But Mr. Whitten in California is carrying on the work. And so what we're doing is recruiting people and talking to people across the country about becoming evolutionary elders and also letting us know and other people know what they're doing as evolutionary elders. Some are doing caring for others in hospitals, and some are doing educational projects, and others are just doing security or whatever, but they are going on as though they were working for a living. They're still working as evolutionary elders.
Talent, you know, like cutting grass and doing household chores.
Right. They haven't laid their talents aside.
Right.
They are just using their talents and their wisdom, the wealth of wisdom that they have accumulated over the years, and sharing it with young people who are just coming through as being mentors for those persons, and just happily doing what we should do. Share with others, mentor young people, give guidance as needed, inspiration, encouragement, just helping people along the way.
All right, then, it's something important that we're going to talk about SAT later.
Yes.
Right now, we're going to have attorney Gooden. Tell us, Karen, how did you get involved in writing books?
Well, first of all, I have to think about my mother, who's still with me. She's 87 years old. I'm her guardian, but she taught English grammar for 40 years.
87 years old.
87 years
Fantastic. You know, she should be on the show.
Well, maybe we can have her.
We have to have her on the show. 87 years old.
Yes, sir.
I tell you, fantastic. Tell us more.
Well, my mother was an English teacher and encouraged us to read and write all the time. I majored in English at Howard University and later went on to study law at Howard Law School, but I was a history minor and always loved history. And so when I was offered a scholarship to get my PhD in history, I thought about it for a second, but I decided that my vision in life was to become a lawyer. And so I continued my studies at Howard University School of Law. But I came back. Thank you so much. It's been a few years, but I came back to the opportunity of writing when I moved to Prince George's County. It's been almost 20 years ago, but I determined that there had been no documented history of African Americans in Prince George's County, and we always discussed and talked about in the media, and I thought it was very important that we define ourselves. So I wrote first a book on the history of the first black district court judge in Prince George's County, Judge J. Franklin Bourne.
Bourne, and right away, you know, I'm from the old school too. I remember him. So fantastic man.
It's great to know someone who knew Judge Bourne, and I was also a member of the J. Franklin Bourne Bar Association, so I thought it was important that we document the history about the man for whom we were named. And so the Donning Company publishers picked up my book and then later asked me if I would either be interested in writing a history of African Americans in Prince George's County, or if I knew someone who would join me in that effort, and that person was Dr. Alvin Thornton.
And what was the name of the book?
The name of the book, the second book, is Like a Phoenix I'll Rise, An Illustrated History of African Americans in Prince George's County, 1696 to 1996. It was released at the 300-year celebration of the founding.
1696?
1696 is the year that Prince George's County was established. And so we were talking about 300 years of history in Prince George's County. The county
300 years of history.
300 years.
I don't know anyone that's going back that far. I mean, how long did it take you to get the material together?
Well, we researched the book for about 18 months.
Yeah.
But the data was in various places, and we were
That
able
takes
to do that.
time.
It does.
18 months. That's what I was saying. Most of the time I hear, maybe 100 years. But you went back 300 years.
We did, and in reality, we started before that, because the book starts where we began as a people in the motherland in Africa. And so we talk about our origins and the great cities of Mali and Songhai, and how they were likened to some of the Prince George's County's county jurisdictions, like Brentwood, the first township in Prince George's County.
Right.
And then we study the history of African Americans in the Maiafa, coming over into slavery, and the Middle Passage. We talk about blacks in politics. We talk about the black church. Upon this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And we talk about those historic churches that served as beacons of light in the black community. We talk about the role that they played in developing black leaders and evolutionary elders like you and Dr. Johnson and Dr. Williams. And so we also discuss the history of education in Prince George's County. When we had separate but equal establishments, we had a separate superintendent of schools, Mr. Doswell Brooks, for black children. He was the superintendent over the black schools or the colored schools. And so we talk about those great achievements that we were able to achieve when we elected our first African-American county executive, Wayne Curry, and Judge Williams, who was our first state's attorney for Prince George's County. So it's a fascinating study of the rich contributions of African-Americans to the history of this great country.
Yeah. Tell me some of the highlights of that book that you felt that is so very important that you pass that on to the next generation.
Well, I believe one person in particular is Miss Hester King, who served as the president of the NAACP for 30 years, stayed at the helm of that organization, and worked in concert with Frankie Bourne. And I think what was so fascinating and important about that era in particular in the 30s, we did not distinguish in terms of class so much, because at that time we all had to sit at the back of the bus. But Frankie Bourne was a well-trained lawyer, and he and Miss King went to Upper Marlboro, and where the signs were on the doors that said colored only, white only, they took lie and began to just eradicate those words from the doors of the courthouses and other buildings. It was an attempt to address the psychological impact that Jim Crow and racism had had on our people. And together they worked outside of the courtroom, and Frankie Bourne in the courtroom alongside of Thurgood Marshall to fight and ultimately kill Jim Crow with the assistance of other lawyers in Prince George's County and beyond. So
wow, that's fantastic. I'm telling you. And you say you haven't, you're going to rewrite it, or your republication?
Well, the book, Like a Phoenix I'll Rise, and Across Bourne, a biography of Judge James Franklin Bourne, will be available online in a week. We're going to launch our website, and I think there'll be more information forthcoming about that.
And how much help did you have getting all that information? You worked the family to death, or what?
You know, it was a few years ago. My daughter was a little girl at the time. I have a wonderful, supportive husband, Caesar Gooden, to whom I've been married almost 28 years.
Hey, you better mention that.
I have to mention him. He's been a great supporter.
Mention that. Once you get beat up when you get home, say, you didn't even mention me, darling.
So having mentioned him, I had his support, as well as Dr. Alvin Thornton, who,
Yes.
with his many years of
Right.
contributions to politics and education in the county, he's a renowned academician and
Right.
former.
I'm familiar with Mr. Thornton, too.
Well, with his assistance and people in the community, we literally called people, we interviewed them, we asked them for their old photographs, any documentation that we could find. The book has over 415 footnotes so that we can substantiate every contention that we've raised in the book. And we wanted to make it easier for the next researcher and the next person, and our children more importantly, to be able to know from whence they have come, because Santayana said that people who do not know their history are destined to repeat it.
Okay. Well, what about your children? You have
I have one daughter.
one daughter. And what's her name?
Her name is Lesla Elise Gooden, one of Dr. Johnson's students.
Is that
She's
right?
helped her with her mathematics over the years. She'll be graduating from Bishop McNamara High School on Saturday.
And then she's going to attend Hampton
University to study broadcast journalism. But we mention her because her book is also available online. It's called Spanky
and
Goes to Camp.
that was something about Spanky. Tell us about how did she? You were the one, or your husband was the one that gave the spanking? But she didn't. Apparently, she didn't forget it. She decided to write a book on it. Tell us about it.
Well, actually, when she was a little girl in elementary school, there were writing book contests, and from kindergarten and through the 6th grade, she won every writer book contest that was offered through her school. She won first place.
Product of the environment.
I think that may be true, but it's actually she and her dad who co-authored Spanky Goes to Camp, which is a book about a little boy. It's an exciting children's book about a little boy who does some wrong things, and to avoid getting a spanking, he tries to change his ways. But every once in a while, he slips and he gets a spanking. So this is called Spanky Goes to Camp and Lessons in Obedience. And it's a great book for children ages 4 to maybe 10.
4 to 10.
4 to 10.
Yeah. I could get a copy of that for my grandson. I got some that need to spank him. You know? See how did you do it? You know what I mean? Tactfully.
It's an old school concept.
It is.
Evolutionary
Well, old school generally is the backhand. That's what I remember.
Oh, not that.
So this is a little better. This is in
little
writing. You know, reference and everything. That sounds fantastic. And your daughter's involved in it, and then she's going into
broadcast journalism,
broadcasting journalism. You know, we'll put her to work around here sometimes. You know,
that sounds great.
Give her some experience. You know, under the lights.
Sounds great, Mr. Brown.
Yes. Well, I'm just flabbergasted on the as far as the writing and things that are going on as far as Prince George County. I've been in Prince George County, let's see, since the late 60s. And so it's a lot of history here, but I find that most of the history is negative history when it comes to African Americans. You know, African Americans have paid their dues, and you actually putting it in writing here is I can't wait to get it. You know. And read some of those things. Okay, we're going to drop back here to Dr. Johnson here. You know, what I was really interested in is that SAT system, SAT, that you have going. Now, this lady here is a terrific mathematician. If let me tell you something. If your child doesn't like math, tell them to see Dr. Johnson, because she has a technique that's outstanding. Tell us about the SAT system that you have coming up.
Okay, I have designed a program called Conquer SAT 1 Math, and I've used it now for about 4 years. I remember when I first was interested in SAT, preparing students for SAT, it was many years ago. I guess it was around in the late 50s, about in the 50, around 1959. So anyway, I had two students to make extremely high scores on the SAT. Perfect score, one made a perfect score and one made close to a perfect score. I think he missed one question.